All right. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Dan, I'm doing fine.
Good, good. I appreciate your willingness to spend time on this interview. Could you do me a favor and just describe a little bit about what kind of a position you were holding at the time you got or became aware of and began using Metagami?
Yes, Dan, I worked for a large aerospace company in the Seattle area, and my job was to conduct research, scientific research. Usually I would be managing multiple programs at the same time, and much of the research was focused on, well, some of it was on the defense side and some of it was on the commercial side.
Okay.
So we bridged both sides of the company.
Okay. And what was it that prompted you to get involved with Metagami? What circumstances were you facing that prompted your awareness of and your ultimate involvement with the use of Metagami?
Boy, that goes back a long time. Well, I was involved in multiple programs, and we struggled with the stovepipes, if you want to use that term, of the various portions of the business. And we kept searching. We were searching for a way to manage multiple programs that are fast-moving programs. We wanted to manage these programs better. So we heard about Metagami, and we thought it would be interesting to see if there was a novel way to manage multiple programs without creating a big, burdensome software project.
Okay. And my recollection is, just to emphasize the one point, that part of the problem was that things were changing so fast and the software that you had been using was not dynamic enough to respond to those changes as they occurred in your planning and redesigning of your needs.
Basically, yes. To manage programs that move fast in a big company, all of the systems that you use are designed for large programs. So the update rate was at an interval that was too slow for a fast-moving, relatively low-dollar program. So we needed more dynamics in the view of the data that we were trying to get our hands around. So we need a faster, more flexible way to see the business information.
Okay. And then obviously you ultimately selected Metagami as the tool to try to use in that environment. Can you describe a little bit about the nature of what happened after you selected Metagami? What effort went into requirements and preparing for its use?
Well, yes. And in fact, we were very surprised that first of all, we did not have a hard set of requirements. We had a lot of desirements. We had a lot of needs. And usually when you contact a company that's selling a software program, the first thing they want to know are, well, what are your requirements? Well, with Metagami, the approach was, well, what do you want to do? What do you need to see? And you actually started with a page, and you said, well, I can give you an idea right now what you can have. Of course, we didn't have ties into the information content, but you created a page where we had text, and we had a spreadsheet, and we had calculations, and you could help me formulate my requirements by showing me what I could have, and that it was all easy to get. So the real difficulty, of course, is getting to the information that you want to put in there. But if you don't know what information you want on the page, you don't know what information to go search out. So you allowed me to see right away how easy it would be to display information once I decided what information I wanted to see.
Okay. All right, great.
It was really the page concept that was so novel to me.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean, just as an aside, our belief is that the world isn't built around a spreadsheet, that the way we've always looked at data is on pieces of paper, and the ability to do that electronically allows the flexibility and the evolution of the process, very much like we would have done it with the flexibility of paper if we had a piece of paper that could work as quickly as a computer.
Well, yes, Dan, and once you decide you're going to use a spreadsheet, you now start limiting yourself to only data that's been saved in a spreadsheet format. And so that then limits the information that you can have access to.
Indeed, indeed. So I recall that we spent some time together at that first day, and did some preparation and some interaction of the type that you described. What happened with your use of Metagami from that point forward?
Well, we continued to iterate for quite some time. Let's see, as I recall, we prototyped a page, and then we started discussing with other business units like finance, contracts, subcontracts, material, and we started exploring ways that we could tap into their information without them having to dump their whole database on me. And as I recall, the real advantage that we had with Metagami is that we only had to identify specific fields that we needed access to, and then Metagami could import those periodically, continuously, automatically, whatever you want to say, into the page that I was viewing. And it's unlike going to contracts and saying, I want you to give me access to your whole database. So, as I recall, we spent many visits working with different parts of the company, trying to define what data we needed access to.
Okay.
And then incorporating that into a new page. We revised the page continuously, which was no problem for Metagami.
Okay, and then added additional pages to evolve the entire application that we were in the process of continuing to develop.
Correct.
Yeah, and my recollection is that the process took place, I know the process took place and the evolution continued over a number of years with regular meetings or online meetings to discuss the modifications that were necessary to what we had done and the evolution to the next stage as your awareness of needs continued to develop.
Yes, and you were working with other parts of the company, with people in other parts of the company, and so I was able to benefit by what another part of the company explored with you. Then you came back to me and you said, well, I just learned about doing such and such with this other group. It was very dynamic, it was very fast, and it was not intimidating to say that I want to change my mind. You know, many times you get down the road and you're afraid to suggest a change because it's so disruptive. There was no disruption in our process by making a change.
I love that.
By suggesting a change.
I love that. That my comments won't go on the tape, but that's really cool because you're right. I mean, I think people do get to the point where making a change is so complex or so troublesome, and the response from the people, because they have worked so hard to give you what they've given you, their response is intimidating is an interesting word, but I'm not surprised to hear you say that.
Well, you get to the point, usually, in a typical product like a database management system, you get to the point where you say, well, a change is too disruptive, I'll just live with it this way. Well, after you just live with something this way for a while, pretty soon these build on themselves and it becomes not what you really intended to do in the first place.
How true, how true. So the things about Metagami that you liked were the nature of the page paradigm and the ease of relating to that and the evolution and the dynamic nature of the product as circumstances changed or awareness indicated other needs that you hadn't otherwise anticipated, and Metagami's fluidity in allowing you to adapt, having it adapt to what your needs were.
Yes. You know, typically, if you use Office, you capture images of spreadsheets or tables or whatever, and you paste them into a fixed environment. Metagami was sort of the opposite. You could have a spreadsheet or a table or a Word document. You could change them. You could change their content without having to change the whole page. So it's sort of like coming at the problem from a totally different angle. If I decide I don't need a spreadsheet, or if I want it smaller or populated differently, that's an easy change to make. it's not like pasting fixed images onto a page that are no longer dynamic. The content inside the spreadsheet was dynamic once you pasted it once you put it on a page. In any other system, you would not have dynamic data inside a spreadsheet once it's on a page.
Okay, excellent. Any other comments
I
or?
hope I'm right on that.
I think, well, I'll go back and edit it if I don't think you're right. Any other comments or reflections you have that would be relevant or worth talking about?
Well, yes, I watched you and other people, Rich, for example, I watched other people around me work with Metagami, but I've never worked with it myself. And so I now see that I have some applications that I'd like to try to make Metagami work on. So, I'm eager to learn myself how to create a page, how to get the data on the page, and I'm sure it's easy to do, and I'm sure I won't have any trouble with it, and I'm now looking forward to using Metagami for my own business interests.
Terrific, terrific. Deb, thank you. This is for real. Thank you very much. I appreciate you spending the time. This has been extraordinarily productive. I sincerely appreciate it.
Okay, well, Dan, we'll keep doing it till we get it right.
Indeed, indeed. Did you want to find a time to